Well, hello everyone. Some of you may know me. I am the secretary of the Libertarian National Committee, and I have been doing some videos on how to get more involved in the Libertarian Party. Ask you to look for that series if you are interested in that subject. But this is something new that I was asked to do. It will be a series on libertarian basics. So in this video, we will talk about the underlying principles behind the ideology of the Libertarian Party and the idea of an ideological political party to begin with. Fundamentally, almost all political parties are ideological, meaning they generally hold to a defined set of ethical ideals or principles that should undergird social order. There have been a few issues-based parties, but they're usually on a state level, such as parties organized around cannabis legislation, or we have here in Colorado, the Approval Voting Party, whose one issue is alternative voting systems. But the most enduring and larger parties generally put forth some sort of guiding principle. One enduring exception would be a party you may not even have heard of. It was formed in 1869 called the Prohibition Party. It still exists today, but it might as well, it's like the Chupacabra. Out of the three largest parties in the US, the two old parties and the Libertarian Party, it is the LP that has the most clearly defined foundational principles, which creates very consistent policy stances that are not subject, to the vagaries of the popular opinions of the moment that plague the two dinosaur parties, such that it's difficult at times to define exactly what those two parties stand for and where they actually do differ from each other, as they tend to flop back and forth and back and forth. And even the use of the words liberal and conservative prove to be similarly unhelpful, as those terms morph and are co-opted. Early 20th century liberals and conservatives would barely recognize their alleged counterparts today. And vague buzzwords like small government have become nearly meaningless as the government grows monstrously, no matter which party holds the presidency or control of the legislature. Unlike the bylaws organizing the donkeys and the elephants, the Libertarian Party codifies and protects its underlying principles. From our bylaws, Article 2, it is stated as the purpose of the party. The party is organized to implement and give voice to the principles embodied in the Statement of Principles by engaging in various political and educational activities that are listed out. But all of those are to the goal of implementing and giving voice to the Statement of Principles. And Article 3 of our bylaws tells us that the Statement of Principles affirms that philosophy upon which the Libertarian Party is founded, by which it shall be sustained, and through which liberty shall prevail. These principles are protected in the bylaws by requiring a 7/8 vote of all registered delegates at a national convention to modify them, and they have not been modified since 1974. So you could say we're pretty serious about that. While I do encourage everyone to read and understand the 5 short paragraphs comprising the Statement of Principles, this video is intended to give the barstool or water cooler summary rundown. In the most simple of terms, every policy position taken by the Libertarian Party is guided by 2 concepts. The fact that you own yourself and that no one has a higher claim upon your life than you, and number 2, that no one has the right to initiate force or fraud against another person. Or, as Chair Sarwark likes to say, don't hurt people and don't take their stuff. Yes, it really is that basic. Simple truths you learned as a child. Of course, things get messy and more complicated than black and white when applied to the real world. But keeping those principles in mind keeps us on a secure, predictable, and consistent course. The terms that libertarians typically use to describe these concepts are self-ownership and property rights and non-aggression. In future videos, we'll unpack those concepts in ways that everyone can understand, and then go through the Libertarian Party platform to see how these concepts are applied to political and governance issues. Thank you so much for spending this time with me, and I hope you find this useful. Feel free to get in touch with me for any questions or comments, and have an awesome day. Mi guapas de libertad.